leave it to RockShox to make a product to tune your Fox Shock. Now, today I'm going to tell you guys about the ShockWiz and my experience with it. And every single time I use it, I learn something new, so it's a really awesome product. You can skip the video and go buy it. Popping the cover open, we clearly see it says SHRAM in here, aka RockShox. FYI, if you have a RockShox Shock, don't buy one of these. Now, the ShockWiz is a tiny little computer that can seem daunting and overwhelming. But don't worry, because I'm going to make it really easy for you. Starting out, my ShockWiz's pretty worn out, to be perfectly honest. I have to stick a washer underneath the battery for a tight fit and leave the case off to make the thing even turn on. The correct way to use the Wizard is to zip tie the actual computer with the rubber case on your Shock for more accurate measurements. So if you see mine dangling off, don't mind the jank fest, it still works. First thing you do when you get a ShockWiz, you download this awesome app called ShockWiz. Complete shocker, right? The ShockWiz is a consumer level product that gives you like professional level data and education. Once you open the app up, you need to calibrate the ShockWiz to your bike. Now, this can get really tricky, I am not gonna lie. But fortunately, you can go on bike forums and find your bike's leverage curve. Manually enter your leverage curve in and skip the rest of this, and I'm a middle-aged male, so you know I didn't read the instructions. And of course you're going to get better results by following the instructions and filling all this stuff out, and strapping the Wizard to your bike appropriately. You need to sit on the bike with your phone open and make sure the pressure increases because these ShockWiz are a little tinkery. Sometimes they lose connection, they'll just randomly turn off. Wiggling the battery and the case and taking the case off and doing all the electrical things like tapping on it can make it work. I always take the measurement of my clickers before I start out so I know where I am. Now I'm pretty satisfied with my setup, but I have this 2024 Fox Float X2 and I'm like, I might have it set up wrong because I honestly don't love the way it rides compared to the old one. The first thing you gotta know about the Wizard, you have to ride your favorite kind of trail. You can't be like on some techie rock garden and then show up to some pounding blue flow trail and expect it to be a perfect setup. So for me, I want mine set up for pounding blue flow trails. The last setting I almost forgot, you can choose your riding style. Now, after years of using the ShockWiz, I've tried all the settings in it and I discovered I like a playful bike because I'm just kind of a goofy guy on my bike and I don't care about racing or being planted, aka bumbling. Now as you ride, the ShockWiz is collecting some outstanding data. Pull over after about a mile or two and it will have some recommendations or suggestions and some detections inside of the shock. Now the Wizard's not agreeing with my setup. It's telling me I have too many tokens in there and I'm like, come on dude, do you know how much I weigh? So I decided to take its advice and I went home, removed a token and then took it back out. Another thing to note about the ShockWiz, it will give you a score. So my initial ride, I had a score of 60, which is pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's in the green, it must be good, right? Now taking it out for 2 tokens and some increased air pressure, it has completely changed all my rebound and compression settings. Like, it's so valuable, the information that comes out of this thing. You're like, wow, I have to retune absolutely everything from removing 1 token. Normally you wouldn't do that, right? With 2 clicks faster rebound, 2 clicks high-speed compression added, and some low speed taken off, the ShockWiz was starting to agree with me. Now the low speed compression was way off, and low speed compression is the hardest to set up I feel because it's so subtle. After the second run down the trail, it's giving me an updated score of 84, which is pretty impressive. 100 would be perfect, but if you took it down some rocky trails with this setup, it would go way down. So just remember, you can only tune it for 1 style of terrain at a time. Now the difference between 60 and 80 as far as a confidence score, let me tell you, it wasn't that big. 60 was completely acceptable, but it did feel a little more poppy with a faster rebound. The ShockWiz is such an amazing piece of machinery for the simple reason it will teach you more about bike suspension than all the YouTube videos combined. I initially used mine for over a year as a crutch and just left it on my bike when I first got a Fox Float X2 because I was completely lost and I had no idea what was good and bad. But in time, I started to learn the characteristics of different shocks with the Wizard plugged in. And that's why I learned that RockShox and Fox are completely different animals. Like you just saw in the video, the Wizard is telling me to increase the compression on the Fox because it likes to ride on oil, and if I had a RockShox Vivid, it would want to ride on more air pressure. Now, the Wizard is my favorite piece of machinery for the simple reason everyone has room to learn, and every time I use it, I learn something new. Like, I need a faster rebound to be riding pounding blue flow trails. Now, I don't have a lot of case studies on the ShockWiz or friends, but I did let one of my friends borrow this who's very intuitive at setting suspension up. He was able to get his shock to like 70% off feel, which is super high. But once he took the recommendations, he was also able to get up to 85, which is super ideal. Well guys, it's up to you. Do you want to pay $300 to set your shock up in 30 minutes or suffer through a 13-minute Fox Float X2 video? That's completely up to you.